Welcome to FASTx. We're gonna do a shop tour today, kind of show you guys what we've got here in the shop we're working on right now and what's coming up. So the shop started in my house like almost 4 years ago now. I finished building that car over there, and when it was just a time attack car, and I had some people ask me to build them K-swapped Lotuses, so I started in my garage building one of them. Then I had a customer ask if I would start working on his Lotus street car. And then at one point I had 4 cars like going on at one time in my 3-car garage at home, and that was quite the thing. So I realized I guess I got enough demand to go find a building. So I moved into this shop here, basically started off with a C8 and an Elise in here on opening day, and we've been busy every single day since then. Now we've kind of got the shop laid out so that we are uniquely kind of situated to just do project cars. So as much as possible going forward here, we'll be working on cars like you see here, race cars, full builds, full wiring. We'll start doing more and more hydraulic work as we can get through this, and we'll still do some of the bigger Lotus jobs. Transmissions and clutches are kind of our specialty there, engine replacements, and some of the bodywork jobs. But we'll trying to be pivoted towards full builds or bigger projects as much as possible. So I guess we'll just start with the first car here in the shop. This guy is a E46 chassis BMW with a GT350 motor or a GT500 motor. I'm not sure actually, I'm not a Ford guy. GT350. And we're going to do a full chassis harness on this car with M-Tron KV8 ECU and a AIM PDM 32 with a 10-inch dash. That's going to give us all the power wiring new, all the control over the water pumps and light systems in the car. And then we used M-Tron in this engine because they have a native firmware, I'll call it, for this engine, so it'll be a lot easier to set up and get started. Over here we have the most interesting project we have in the shop, but it's also the newest. We essentially are going to start working on this today. This is going to be a twin turbo 2GR with an engine built by Montoon and Motec PDM, Bosch ABS, a Motec C1212 dash. As you can see, a full cage, so it will be set up to be a NASA or a similar wheel-to-wheel car, but its main purpose is to be a Grid Life limited class car. So we'll be running this car on Coda with something around 1,000 horsepower, depending on how much we're able to cool on street tires. So probably a 295 Yokohama, and going for beating the 214 lap time that those cars have done before. Thinking that that's going to be possible because on a 245 A7, we've gone in the 18s with way less power in a similar car. So it feels like a doable thing. So we're looking really forward to that. If you want to come have a closer look at it. So this is the Lotus Elise or Exige in its completely stripped down form. There's nothing in the dash anymore. We'll probably even remove some more of this plastic to get a little bit more weight out. We've got a cage tied chassis brace up here at the front. So we'll add some tabs on there to pick up the suspension mounting points. And then also we'll use that to support a bunch of the cooling equipment in the front. So once we cut off this OEM crash structure, we'll have to build a little frame around it to hold the clam and to hold the radiators in place. And all of that should tie into the OEM aluminum bulkhead and to this here to give it enough strength. Next car we've got is a Spec Miata for one more day. This car just came into the shop today. We're going to take all the Spec Miata parts off this, everything that's not needed to be a car basically, and put a Motec ECU on it so we can have full control over the engine, set it up to give us the same kind of alarms and information as the other car is giving us, so the drivers can see if they've locked a tire, the drivers can see down to like the 1/10 of a liter how much fuel they've used during their stint, and give us really good information during an endurance race. As of today, it's still a Spec Miata for a couple more hours until we tear it apart, but that'll be the last we see of this car in this format. And soon, this car will be like our other Champ car over here. This was the second sort of full build we did here in the shop. So this car, we took every single part off the car. We sandblasted the chassis down to bare metal. We just primered the chassis back up. We powder coated all of the suspension and subframes. We have a built engine in it from E Street. We rewired the entire car, so the wiring is quite a bit lighter and more reliable than stock. There's no more relays. There's no more, cutting out when the relay gets overcome, the coil in the relay gets overcome by G-forces in a turn. The VVT system works very reliably now. The crank sensor always works. And this car has done about 25 hours on track, and we had the rear left wheel studs break, and we're not entirely sure what happened there, if there was an installation error or we just had bad studs in it. And apart from that, it's run flawlessly for the entire time. Next car we've got in the shop, or I guess the last car for now, is my personal time attack car that is now a wheel-to-wheel / time attack car. We're gonna finish this guy up and start running NASA events with it. It'll be at Super Lap Battle next year, I'm sure, but it's not really competitive in any class there because it is a non-OEM paddle shift car, and doing that puts you into unlimited, and it's obviously doesn't have the power to be unlimited because it's a naturally aspirated K24. This car was completely assembled and finished and running for a couple of years, and about a year ago, the crank trigger wheel lost a tooth, and in a K24 Z7, that's a full engine out deal to fix it. So I decided that the wiring in this car didn't really show off what we were capable of doing at that time, and I wanted to put a cage in it so I could do some wheel-to-wheel racing. Almost ready to go back together. Everything's mocked up right now. We're just going through the suspension one corner at a time and making sure that it wasn't taken apart and put in half back together at some point over the last year. Then once we've mocked everything up and checked everything, we'll take everything back out of it, clean it up, paint the cage, paint the engine bay, and go back together with everything, taking our time to make sure that hoses get P-clamped out of the way, hard lines get. So for example, some of the details we're adding to this build, which aren't quite ready to be seen yet, but I'll show it anyways. So the hard lines are gonna run up to the anti-vibration block that'll be mounted up here on the firewall, and made 3D printed brackets so the hard lines wouldn't be able to rub on each other. And probably we'll end up doing the same thing for the fuel line right here where it could touch the intake manifold, and just go through and make every kind of little quality of life thing like that we can while we're putting it back together, so customers can see what, where the money goes and what the value that we can offer is. In the last part of the shop, I guess, we don't have anything in here right now, but we are set up to do medium fabrication. We did all the fabrication and cage work on this car. We did the header on that car. We'll do probably all of the exhaust system and maybe the charge air system on the Super Lap Battle car in-house. And we'll start experimenting on this car with making our own hydraulic lines. Haven't done a ton of that in the past, but that's what the shop car is for learning. It's about all we've got going on here today. We've got the LS7 swapped 911 from Super Lap Battle Limited Class last year. I think the last 2 years is going to be here on Tuesday for it also getting Motec and a rear end wheel wire. So we've got a spot open for it, and we look forward to working on more and more race cars here and doing more project cars like these.